Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have with us Principal Trainer Nitin Nayyar. He has around 15 years of writing and drafting experience with the biomedical and healthcare industry. He's a graduate in biomedical science honors from University of Delhi and masters in health management as a consultant. He has developed and drafted policy document, SOPs, clinical trials, medical manuscripts, case studies, quality guidelines, etc. for the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, NACO, NAFCO, and USAIDs, WHO, and work with the corporate and next medical journals in clinical and diagnostic research areas. He is also associated with NRHM, NUHM, I'm audible, healthcare, and medical research and case studies. He is currently associated with the medical technology company where he writes, develops technical and clinical literatures for diagnostic products and technology. He has published various articles in newspapers, magazines, and online health portals. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. Over to you, sir. Nitin, sir, you can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Ashish. Welcome, students, to refresher course in biomedical content writing. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this course, which is a unique initiative by the Learning Center Ramanujan College. And hopefully this will give you something unique and something new to be utilized in your skills and to be used in your day-to-day activities as well. Sorry for the interruption, students. Yeah, so this is the course on biomedical content writing, and you'll be getting something new and refreshing for your writing skills, especially for the life sciences and the biomedical subjects. So today's session will be dealing with the foundation skills for the biomedical content writing. And we are going to discuss 5 major skills which are helpful while writing for the subjects related to the biomedicine or to the life sciences. See, because writing is not about you just open the page or open your screen and start writing. Before writing, there are so many things we need to think, because the writer is more of a thinker. A writer is more of, first he thinks what he wants to convey and to whom he is conveying and how the things are to be conveyed. For all these things, we need to prepare. A writer has to prepare himself or herself. And then only he can proceed with jotting down the words on paper or on screen. So we are going to discuss here 5 skills which will help you out in doing your pre-writing activities, so that you can prepare yourself to draft what you actually want to draft, so that it will become an effective piece of writing. So just we will first is that we will deal with the elements of effective content development for life sciences and biomedical subjects. And the first thing is, write for your readers. Understand the communication process and use the reader's checklist. So the first element of a good writing when we talk about the biomedical subjects is that you are not writing for yourself. You are not writing for your personal interest. What you are writing is, you are writing for the one person who is reading your writing. So if you don't know who is the reader, and if you don't think about the reader, then you cannot prepare your writing to suit their needs. And if you're not preparing the things as per your customer or the reader's need, definitely you're not going to produce a good product which is useful to them. And one thing I would like to tell you in this course, which you should remember till the end of this course, that when you are writing as a faculty or as a student, you are writing just for passing your examinations, to tell that you know something. But When you are writing for some media, or you are writing for some other platform, maybe you are writing the blog, or you are writing the story for the newspaper, you're writing any kind of a article for the magazine. Why you are writing? You are not writing to show that you know, and nobody will read it because they want to correct you or they want to give you marks. They will only read you because you have written something which they want to read, which is going to help them out. And that is why there is a difference between when you write for the academics and when you actually develop the content for your intended audience. So that is the first thing which we have discussed even in your first session, where I have differentiated between what is text, what is content, and what is writing. So writing you do for your academic purpose, where your goal is to get the marks. But here your goal is not to get the marks. Your goal is to get the readers. And to get the readers, you need to first understand the readers. And if you understand the readers, your writing is going to be sure shot success. And then you will realize that it definitely makes a difference when you think about the reader before you write. How you can do that? Now, it does not matter how good your content is or how much efforts you put in it. If you put the reader out of your writing, then your writing fails. Maybe your writing is very good, you have a good English, you have a good sentence structure, you have used very good vocabulary. But if that vocabulary is not understood by your readers, there is no point of that the reader is going to read what you are going to write. So if you separate your reader from your writing fails. And especially I'm talking about the life sciences or the biomedical sciences, where if your patient does not understand the material, there is no point of saying that I am educating the patient. If your doctor is not understanding, if a scientist is not understanding what you have done, what your case is about, and your vocabulary may be good, but your grammar can be good, but that piece of writing is not going to be effective for your intended reader. So keep your writing intact for your reader whom you choose to read your written words. Now, for this, we need to understand just this small slide, but it is a deep content and the deep intent behind this concept. Then that when you write a document, or there is some written document or the written words created by the writer has a purpose for that. If you are writing, suppose some guidelines to be followed by your staff, then you have a purpose that your staff will read those guidelines and follow that. If you are writing for your patient, then you have a goal that patient will read that and follow that, so that you can move with the right treatment. If you are writing some kind of a research, you want the research to convey the message to the intended scientists, so that they will be able to read that and do the experiment in a better way in coming time, and they can make their knowledge increase in that particular area. Now, when reader reads your document, he has the outcome out of that. And that purpose and the outcome, if in your writing process, if these two things are matching, that means your writing has a good impact and you know how to write. But if that purpose and that outcome is not matching, means if you're writing for the purpose that the patient should do what you are telling him to do, but the reader or the patient is not understanding what you have written, then he is not going to do what you want him to do. So if there is a mismatch in that purpose and the outcome, then your writing fails. That is why it becomes important to understand that the reader should be the focus of your writing. And it is not just to know, you have to keep yourself aware at every point of writing that who is my reader and how you can do that. There is a method for that. If you professionally and systematically do your research, you will be able to identify who are the readers, and you can define the persona or the profile of that reader. For that, we have, here comes the attitude issue. what happens is normally the non-professional or the people who do writing just for the hobby sake, they think that the understanding that the writing is a collaborative process. Writers and readers achieve outcomes of common interest. Professionals too often see that it is a one-sided transaction. I am writing something, somebody will read it, and somebody will say, wow, it is a good writing. It is never like that. When why to read a medical brochure if the patient is not understanding what you want to say to them? That is where the problem arises. And because it's not the obligation of your reader to understand what you are saying. If you are rewriting some vocabulary, if your reader is not understanding that, the problem is not with the reader, the problem is with the writer. As a writer, you should know that what kind of a vocabulary my reader will accept. You have to understand, you have to recalibrate your writing style to suit the reader's knowledge. And for that, you need to develop a kind of a methodology or a checklist, which we will discuss in this session, that the best way is to apply the reader's checklist. When you are going to write something, always remember, if you first prepare this document of a reader's checklist, definitely, because this is a one-time job. Suppose you write an article or you write the material for your patient, or you write the article only for the geneticist or only for the hematologist or for the pathologist. Then if you make a background or the reader's checklist for that particular audience, every time you can go through that checklist and you will be able to prepare the document accordingly. Because these all questions will help you out in designing, drafting, and structuring your article to suit the best needs of your reader. So it's best to go for apply the reader's checklist. And what this checklist will do, first of all, who are my readers? Define categorically who, because no writing is meant for everybody in the world. As a professional writer, you must understand, even if you're a science author, not every scientist is going to read you. It is only the selected one. If you're writing the article on microbiology, only a microbiologist is your target reader. And if you're writing only for the medical microbiologist, then only medical microbiologist. And in that microbiologist, if you're talking only about the tuberculosis, the only people or the microbiologist interested in the tuberculosis, they will be interested. And if you come down further and you say the only tuberculosis scientists who are working on the diagnostic part, then your reader becomes more and more narrow. So first define clearly that who you are writing about. Second thing is, how educated are my readers? If you're writing for the tuberculosis scientist, that is a different thing. But if you're writing for the patients of tuberculosis, then your reader's education should go down, because most of the TB patients, they are either illiterate or very, very less educated. So you have to use the language accordingly. What knowledge do they bring to the writing? If you are writing something, there are certain things your readers may already know, and there are certain things which they don't know. So you have to select those things, that what are the things I can eliminate because my reader already knows, and what the things I need to simplify because my reader will not be able to interpret that in the language I want to tell to them. So what attitude will they have about my writing? What attitude means, if you're writing, either you are a very expert in that particular thing. If you are, suppose if you're a scientist for that tuberculosis, then it's fine, you are a credible authority. But if you are not that authority, then what attitude your reader will have about you, about that writing. So if you understand that, if you're writing as a teacher and you know that you are going to explain something to the student, then your writing should show that you are a teacher and you are explaining that thing to the students. If you are explaining as a nurse, if you are explaining it something to the patient, then you must share that attitude should come into your writing, that the reader should feel that somebody is educating them as a patient or as a teacher or as a expert. That thing should come. Next is, are some readers more important than the others? Suppose if you are writing, as I took the example of tuberculosis, if you have written about tuberculosis, then of course it is suitable for all the microbiologists. But the more important is those who are actually working on tuberculosis. And if the article is on diagnostic part, then I want the people who are into diagnostic part of tuberculosis, they should be the first audience which I'm going to cater. So you have to give the priority to your readers. Are there any tension between the readers? Tension means if you are writing on some subject, suppose you say that a particular X test is important to detect malaria. This is the example I'm giving you, that if X test is good for malaria, you want to say that it's very good and reliable test, but in the market or in the literature, that particular method has been criticized. So there is a tension. What you want to say is actually contradictory to what is existing already in the literature, or already the articles are published on that, but with the different results. So it means you have to have the good evidence, strong evidence to put your point, because other articles are giving the opposite of what you want to prove through your writing. So do my intentions differ from those of my readers? Sometimes it happens the writer's intention is to give the knowledge, but the reader's intention is to criticize that particular point. So do my intentions differ from those of my readers? If I want to say something good about some subject, but my readers don't want to listen the good about that particular. So you have to see, is there any kind of a contradiction existing? Then comes what do my readers need from my document? How they're going to use my article. Suppose if they are going to use that article for informing others, then my article must have the good authentic source of from where I am taking the information. So, or my readers are going to use that for the patient education, or the clinicians are going to use that for the other scientists or in their hospitals. What do I want my readers to do in response? Do I want the reader to change some behavior? Do I want the reader to spread more message about that particular subject? Do I want that the reader should promote that particular concept? So that kind of a response, what I want from the reader, that should be written clearly in my mind and in my checklist. And that checklist is, you're not going to make this checklist for every article you're making. This is a one-time thing. Once you develop this checklist, after that, it will be very easily, with time, you will get so efficient that when you directly even write the article, you will automatically, unconsciously feel as if you are writing for the particular intended targeted audience. So what do I want to achieve by drafting or writing this content? Here, I would like to emphasize that if you're just writing for the sake of getting published somewhere, maybe in the journal or the magazine or on some platform, then that's the poor reason, I would say. And we are very sorry that most of us do like that, but that should be avoided wherever it is feasible. Don't write just to draft something. Think that you are going to add some value to somebody's life, because writing is all about adding value. If you're not adding value to the reader's life, there is no point of writing the document, because nobody is interested in reading that you write very good. They are interested more in how they're getting benefited. And once they will get benefit, definitely, believe me, it's even the research says that if you really write something good, they will remember you. You don't have to even write the author's name. They will identify and search for you if you really give them something useful and valuable to their profession or to their personal life. So if you ask all these questions, prepare a checklist and draft them, you will get clear in your thinking that how you're going to further your writing in life sciences or the biomedicine. So what is the utility? That it creates a more effective content. Outcomes are more focused. Whatever you want to do through your writing, if you have this checklist, that will become more clear. And third is, which is most important, first of all, it will save your time as a writer, because now you know for whom you're writing. And then it saves the time of the reader also, because you are not going to say anything which is not useful to my reader. And you'll be able to cut down many things. If you are talking to, suppose, a clinician, and you are starting your article that tuberculosis is an infection caused by bacteria, you will feel that that information is not necessary for my reader, because they already know about those things. So you can reduce your content and save your reader's time. Now comes the next point, is overcoming the writer's block and developing content checklist. what is writer's block? I would just like to tell a definition for the same. Writer's block, if you read online also, there is so much of stuff available on this. But if in short you want to know, the writer's block is your psychological thinking that uh, it is not the right time to write, because you feel that you have less information, or you're not prepared, or you don't have time. You give a lot of reasons to not writing. So all that thing, the first thing is the terror of the blank page. The moment you see the blank page, you think what to write. First you open the book, then start reading, then think that whether I should read, or first develop something, first think about it, then I'll write. Why it happens? Because first of all, you are not knowing enough about the topic. This is the one thing excuse we give. Then comes, you don't know what you want to say about the topic. That is the other problem, which you can think and you can come down, because once you know exactly what you want to write about clearly, there is no point that you can stop yourself from writing. Write about should be as narrow and specific as possible. As I told you, that if you are writing for tuberculosis, now tuberculosis has thousands and thousands of theses written on that. How will you write that about? What you are going to write, you have to narrow down that. If you're writing for tuberculosis, take one part of tuberculosis. If you are taking that part, define the population for which you are writing. Are you writing only for the Indian population? Are you writing for the foreign population? Or are you writing for some particular gender, or for the pediatric patients? That you have to decide. And then you want to say everything about the subject. See, no writing can say everything about anything. So you have to understand that you have to narrow down, and you have to write as more about the less, rather than going less about everything. Choose your topic, narrow it down, make it as focused as possible. Then that will remove your block to write. Because most of the time we get overwhelmed that there are so many things to write that you don't even start writing. Next comes, you are knowing the parts or the haphazard information about the subject. Now you know small things about everything, so you want to include that everything into your content, and that also creates the problem, which does not allow you to start writing. So to deal with the writer's block, what you have to do, you have to define first to whom you're writing, what you're writing, and in that what, how narrow you can be. Define your geography. Define, I'm talking about only India. I'm talking only about the tuberculosis in India. I'm only talking about the diagnosis of tuberculosis in India, and I'm only talking about the elderly population. The more you define your subject and the topic, the more you will become clear about how to start and how to go further to write about. Now, what to do for that? What you have to do is step back and think in a structured way. As I told you, that writing is nothing but an other form of thinking only. You are thinking on paper, you are thinking on your screen, because whatever the thoughts come, you throw it on the paper. And if the more your thinking part is clear, the more you'll be able to write clearly for your audience. So step back and think in a structured way, and definitely you will be able to cross this writer's block in your writing process. Now, these are the 4 steps, although these are the broad, but you can break them down, and you will, as I told you about defining your topic, don't define the topic. So these are the 4 steps to develop the content of any kind of a document. First is defining your topic, which I told you that you have to go as narrow as possible. Then comes the gathering information about it. Gather the information does not mean that you keep on gathering information only and you collected so many books. As I told you, the narrower is your topic, the less information you read about it, you need about it, and take less information, but from the authentic sources. Rather than going each and every search which you do on the Google, just go find out 2-3 good sources, stick to them, and gather less information and add your opinions and your ideas into that. That will make your writing more stronger. Then comes the evaluating that information. Once you have found that information, the next thing comes that you have to arrange that information in a particular story. And that story does not mean that you go and explaining the things. The thing is that you take a small information, then pack it up, make it a small story, as small as possible, but give a concrete outcome out of that. And then you have to develop your ideas in response to the same. Then comes the fourth element, comes the content checklist to guide you in a focused way to write for the biomedical subject. As I told you, what is the topic or the problem I want to write about? Topic. Then comes out of in that topic, what the problem I want to share, or what the problem or the issue I want to discuss. Then comes what kind of a document am I writing? Document writing, kind of document means, are you writing for the newspaper? Are you writing for the magazine, for the medical journal, for your blog, for the social media? That you have to define that what kind of a document I am writing. I am writing an educational material. If you categorize that, then it will become easier for you to decide that what kind of a writing or what style you are going to use, what kind of a words you are going to use, what kind of a sentences you are going to make. That will come to you more clear. Then what does I want to achieve by writing this document? This is the content checklist. If you will prepare once this, then your writing becomes easier and easier. And these are the ways how the professionals do actually. If you go to the good publications, people prepare like this. I've been working with the journals and even with the magazines. They prepare these documents as a standard and they give it to the author, and then author defines first this and then write that. Then that is how it becomes a good piece of intellect which people want to read, which gets the readership. Then what information does I need to gather about the topic? What sources do I need to consult? If you just, you are not going to write essay on this. What you are going to write? 2 lines, 3 lines max for your thinking purpose. And then start your writing. You'll become more clear of what you want to share with your audience. That what findings emerge from your research. Research means what I'm not talking about the manuscript research, the experimental research. Here I'm talking about the research that whatever you have read, whatever the story you want to present, what are the findings of that? If you have studied about the diagnosis part of malaria, then what are the methods available? And according to your research or your findings or your reading, what do you find? Which is the best method came out, or which is the least preferred method to test malaria? What are the problems that comes in while diagnosing malaria? What are the problems? What are the changes you observe in the blood profile of any patient suffering from malaria? So go as narrow and then find out what the message you want to give, and then you will become more focused and concrete in your content. Then what conclusions can you draw about your topic? Then, because as I told you, that reader is going to get something from your writing. They are not going to give you marks. They want some concrete message from your writing, especially in the medical or the biomedical sciences. So if you can give just one single concrete conclusion to your reader, it means your writing is strong. If you are giving many conclusions, but none of them is proved in your writing, then that is considered to be the poor writing. That is why the narrower you go, the more you are concrete in your conclusions. Then comes the content checklist to guide you in a focused way how to design your biomedical content. That what are the reasons and evidence support these conclusions? If you are saying something that a particular method is the best way to diagnose malaria, then give at least 2 reasons, 3 reasons, 2 evidences, 3 evidences, And even give in the title, you can write 3 reasons to choose test X to detect malaria. Now you're writing or the article is telling 3 reasons. Just like in this session also, you can see I have told that we are going to study five techniques or the 5 elements of a effective writing. So you know that you are going to get 5 elements and you will be able to remember them in a better way. So same thing happens while you're writing. You should have the number of reasons or the evidences which supports your conclusion, that what actions should follow the reading of your document. People should start washing hands after my reading my article on hand washing. People should start using, clinicians should start referring to that particular diagnostic method which I am promoting in my article, or the particular drug I want to show that it is a better one compared to the other versions. Then I want the clinicians to refer to that drug compared to the other ones. All these things are the actions we want to be taken after reading your written document. Then how can you measure the success of your writing? Now, this although it is very difficult, but there are ways, and the professional companies or the organizations, they do like that. But as an individual writer, it is not necessary, but at least you will get, because nowadays we have social media. Once you put something, you will definitely get comments or the likes or something, and people will tell you that yes, we have used this. So that is somewhere feasible. But yes, but when you go to the professional good organizations or the bigger organizations, they have the tendency that they publish the article, then they see how much is the change or how much is the preference has been increased after reading the article. You must have seen that same kind of a thing is done by the medical representatives from the pharma company. What they do, they promote particular studies and they tell you that so and so molecule is the better version of the other molecule, and then you see the market is using that particular new molecule. Why? Because of that preference changes, because of those studies, because of those writings, because of those case studies. So that is how you can check the measure of the success of your writing. Then defining your topic. As I told you, what is the topic? Example we have taken, suppose tuberculosis. Who is involved? I want only elderly patient to be involved. When does it take place? If you're talking about a particular year or a pandemic, then you have to write the that particular period. Otherwise, you can say over the decade, evolution of diagnosis of tuberculosis over last decade or over last 3 decades. Then comes, where does it take place? As I told you, you can talk about only a particular geography, talk about India. If you can talk about only if you're from Mumbai, just write the scenario in Mumbai or Maharashtra. If you want to narrow it down further, you can talk only about your hospital. That is also feasible. No need to talk about the entire world. You can, the more you narrow down your topic, the more you will be able to share the concrete outcomes from your writing. Then it comes, how does it happen? If you're talking about the diagnostics, how does it happen? If you can include that, that part will, all these questions should come out from your article or from your writing. Then that thing becomes more concrete. People will know what has happened, who has done it, when it has happened, where it has happened, how it has happened. If you read any newspaper stories especially, you'll find all these questions answered. And we will see how to write the newspaper article as a separate session in this course. But this is the general view I'm giving you here, that these are the elements which are good, which are required for the effective biomedical content. And why is this of interest or concern? Now, if you're writing something, as I told you, you're not writing for yourself, you're writing for somebody. And if you're choosing a topic, suppose today you write about tuberculosis, you're writing for malaria, you're writing for something, but people are more interested in COVID-19. So why not take that? So you have to see what is the interest of the audience right now is. Am I writing about the interesting subject? Does my subject really is of concern to the reader? If I'm writing for the patient, about the heart patient, and then what the heart patient may want to know, he want to know that does COVID-19 affects their drug therapy in a particular cardiac situation? Or does the vaccine, can vaccine do any harm to the cardiac patient? Or kind of a thing which is of general interest for whom you're writing. I'm not talking in general what is interesting. I'm talking about when you choose your audience, then you think that what can be of interest or concern. Interest or concern. Interest means they want to read about. Concern means they are worried and they want to read about. So you have to differentiate, and then you have to develop your story in writing. Then the key tip from all this discussion, what we have done, is think before you draft. As I told, writing is about thinking. You are thinking, the clearer is your thinking, the better will be your writing. It saves your time, and it saves a lot of rewriting, and adds structure in your thought process and approach to create logical, interesting, and reader friendly story that serves the purpose of your reader. If you keep on writing, keep on, even the best writers, if they keep on writing and they write 10,000 words, nobody is going to read. You cannot even listen to the best orator for more than half an hour or 1 hour maximum. After 1 hour, if I continue giving you sessions and 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hour session, you're not going to listen to me whether I'm giving the best lecture. So you have to understand, and then you have to limit down the things, as I told you, the various ways how you can narrow down your topic and how you can create the story that will make your readers happy to read about. So now is the sixth element. After this, we are going to discuss. Now we have talked about, we have to create the content checklist, then we have to create the readers checklist, then we have to know the reader, then we have to understand that how they behave, or what is their requirement, what is the purpose of the document, all these things. Then comes how you can include all these things. Now I'll share with you the 6 contemporary techniques which are used by the content developers. Although these techniques can be used for any kind of a writing. Maybe you are not writing for the medicine, but you can use these techniques. But here, because we are dealing with the biomedical subjects, life sciences subjects, so I'll explain you these techniques. Although you may be knowing these techniques, but you have never consciously used them in your writing things. So here I'll explain, I'll give you the brief about these techniques. You can read the details, but the important part is not knowing these techniques. The important part is not that you understand these techniques. The important part is whether you apply them or not. So I request all the students to just listen to whatever we are telling you in the session, and then start writing take your topic, and then think through these techniques, think about what you're going to write. And there is no wrong and right. I would like to emphasize again that in writing, there is no wrong and right. So don't judge yourself that whether you're doing right or wrong. Just use these techniques, and with time, you will be able to prepare better and better articles. And none of the words article is the best in the world, because every article has a scope of improvement. Every writing has a scope of improvement. So no writing is bad writing. The only is, the more you write, the more clear you become, and the better you write every time you write. So these are the age-old methodological and scientifically proven ways to streamline thought process, especially in biomedical content development, and gives the direction to your content and its purpose to bring structure to your writing. So these techniques will help you think about the writing. They will help you structure your writing. What should be the sequence of your writing? What should be included and what should be excluded? All these things you will come to learn through these thinking techniques for the content development. Now, sorry, yeah, these are the 5 most useful content. It is a 6th element we are talking about, and in this 6th element, there are 5 most useful content techniques. These are, first is the free writing, which is the least structured approach. Then second is the brainstorming, that is the point form writing but free writing. Then comes the mind mapping, which is the unstructured content development technique. Then comes the force field analysis, which is a structured form of a technique to think about your writing. And then comes 5th one is the fishbone diagram, which is also a kind of a structured way to think about your topic and then to draft the content on that. We will discuss mind mapping, force field, and fishbone in detail. But before that, I'll just give you these two in brief. That one is the free writing. Suppose you are going to start writing for something. You have discussed and done everything on your topic. You have researched. Now you know you want to write about the malaria diagnosis by a particular technique only for the elderly patient. Now the topic is clear. Now what will you do? If you keep on reading, you will never be able to write it. So the first thing is, now put your books down, start jotting down whatever comes to your mind. No bad, no good, no important, no less important. Whatever comes to your mind, keep writing, writing, and writing. Don't judge yourself. That is known as the free writing. Don't think whether the spelling is right, whether the grammar is right, whether the sequence is correct, nothing. Because in the free writing, what you are doing is you are just thinking about the subject. But that thinking is not in your mind. That thinking is done on the paper. Once you come out and throw everything on the paper, at least you will come to know that how much your mind already knows about the subject. And that is the purpose. As a writer, first the writer should know that how much actually he knows about the subject. Because if you don't know how much you know, then you will always be in a hurry or in a temptation to think that you don't know. So free writing is one of the ways you can throw your mind on paper or on screen. And then once you have thrown it, then you read it, then you will come to know that which part are very clear and which part are not at all clear, or which part are actually missed by you. That is the beauty of the free writing technique. So second comes is the brainstorming. Brainstorming is also a kind of a free writing, but here you are not writing it as a paragraph. In brainstorming, what you are doing, suppose you have chosen to write about the tuberculosis. Now the point comes, in tuberculosis, what you want to do, you will make the points about that. Point means how it is defined, what are the types of tuberculosis, how it is treated in India, how it is treated in European countries, then how it is treated in Middle East, and then what are the diagnostic methods available, what are the therapies available. All these points, things you will write in a point wise. There is only one difference between the free writing and the brainstorming. In free writing, you keep on writing the paragraph and write everything that comes to your mind. But in brainstorming, you make the points. Suppose you came up with the 50 points and then you decided that I want to cover this topic in this particular direction for this particular audience. Then out of those 50 points, you will find that only 6 points are important for you. So rest of the points you can eliminate and just focus on those 6 points. And then you start filling your thoughts on those 6 points. And this, let me tell you, this all techniques, you are actually not writing. What you are doing, you are preparing for writing. Remember, we have not yet started writing. What we are doing, we are actually preparing to write the final thing. This activity of brainstorming, free writing is actually preparing you to come to the final thing, what you want to prepare. So this is the same thing going on here. Then third thing comes the mind map. Mind mapping is also one of the techniques. These are all the thinking techniques, but you are using it in writing, in your writing process. So if I talk about, this is the mind map. Suppose you want to write an article about leukemia. Then in leukemia, there are various features, symptoms of leukemia, how the leukemia enters into the cancer, and how the fever happens in leukemia, how many cases they go into the tumor, and what is the illness about, what are the what happens in the chemotherapy for leukemia, how the diagnosis of leukemia is done, what are the blood cells involved. All these things are involved when you are writing for leukemia. Now, out of this, which aspects you want to cover, you can create the mind map for that. And then through that mind map, once you write in the center, you can write your subject. Then through the arrows, you show that what aspects you are going to cover. And in that particular aspects, if you can further elaborate this arrows, then in fever, what kind of a fever you are talking about. If you're talking about therapy, then there are 3 kinds of therapy, which therapy you want to discuss. Then you can make this mind map bigger and bigger. And then you can clearly write what you actually want to share with your audience. So this is the third technique. When you start thinking about your subject, you can use this technique to come out with what you want to cover, for whom you want to cover, and how much you want to cover. You can easily find out and get your outline prepared through this technique. Next come the force field analysis. Now, this is also a way of thinking structurally about your topic. Suppose you want to discuss a problem in your writing and a particular issue you want to discuss, and in that particular issue there are certain forces which are going to promote that particular problem, and there are certain things which are going to restrict or oppose that problem. So to find out that, you do the force field analysis. Suppose you want to analyze that what are the pros and cons of a particular chemotherapy or a particular drug. First, you need to know that what are the pros and what are the cons, which pros are important, which are the priorities, and which are the least priorities which are against that. So how you do this? This technique helps us to assess whether to proceed with the action by rating the forces working for and against it. Take a sheet of paper, write an idea or a proposal in the center. I'll show you the diagram. This kind of a diagram is there. Then write the forces working in favor of your idea on the left side, and write the forces working against your idea on the right side. Then score each of the forces from 1 to 10. The more is the score, the more stronger is your idea. Now see this diagram. Suppose in the center, you have written down the problem needs to be solved. Suppose you are saying that why the COVID vaccine is preferred. Suppose the example. Now, what are the promoting factors? Why people are taking the vaccines and why people are restraining from the vaccines? You write down the ideas. On one side, write why they are taking, and on other side, on the right side, you write why they are refraining from taking the COVID vaccine. Then you give the priority to all those reasons. Suppose you have given the number 1, 3, 5, 4. You give the scoring to every reason you are giving in favor, and then you give the score to the every reason you are giving against. Then the total sum comes out to be, suppose, 13 in the driving forces and 12 in the restraining forces. So what you are doing, it means there are more reasons, more driving factors which are promoting the vaccination compared to those which are restraining from the vaccination. So accordingly, you design your article or the writing, and then you can group those things in your writing, and then you jot down the stories on one by one on every point. Suppose first you talk about the driving forces of vaccination for COVID-19, then you talk about the restraining forces about the COVID-19 vaccine, and then you draft and structure your article in that particular fashion so that the reader becomes familiar with what you are talking about and what is the actual purpose of your writing about that particular problem. So I hope this entire force field analysis tool will help you out in thinking about your topic, that how you can structure your thoughts and bring it down in the form of a writing. Then comes last is the fishbone diagrams. Now, fishbone diagrams is also a form of a structured technique by which the writers develop their drafts. Writers help themselves in designing or structuring their content so that they can write about that subject, covering all the possible important factors or all the possible important points which they want to convey about the problem related to the biomedicine or the life sciences. Now I'll just show you this is the one of the well-known techniques to find out the cause of a particular situation. In medicine or in biomedicine or in life sciences, you want to know the cause and effect. So by this fishbone analysis, first in the form of a, I'll just show you, this is a form of a fishbone thinking methodology by which you can develop the content. You on the right side, you write the problem. Suppose you want to find out that death due to vaccination or the success of vaccination. You want to evaluate the success rate of vaccination, and then those success can be because of people, because of methods, because of environment, because of equipment. Then you put down those subheadings in the form of a bones in the center. If you see this, it gives the impression of a fish where the problem lies at the mouth of the fish. And then if you see, there are these are the bones of the fish. These arrows are the bones of the fish, and the central arrow is going to the problem, and all the other arrows in the form of a bones, they are depicting a particular factor that is affecting the problem. So in your article, if you are writing the problem and then you are correlating the causes of the problem, then you talk about the people, how the people are concerned or the people are involved in solving that problem. Then what are the methods used, you write about those methods. Then about the environment, about the equipment, and in this way you can cover all the points. Now suppose if in your article you don't want to talk about people, how the people are helpful in making the vaccination drive success, you remove the people part. You only talk about the methods part, or you only want to talk about the equipment part. So you only want to talk about the equipment part. But this kind of a fishbone analysis, this helps you in evaluating a particular problem. To assess the factors that make a successful product, it gives the immediate structure for your thinking. It is the practical way to wrestle with your topic and develop your content. So when you think about the subject, if you define your problem, that I want to write an article that why the vaccination drive or the vaccination has been for COVID-19 is successful in India. Because of people, because of methods, because of environment, because of equipment, because of the budget, because of the government, because of anybody you want to talk about. Write all those factors in these sub bones of your diagram, and then jot down the points which you want to write under these. Once you get that structure ready, that will give you the overview that how you are going to design and draft and structure your article so that you can come out with the best possible piece of writing which can get published or which can get read by your intended audience. So with this, we have seen that these are the 5 techniques. Free writing, number 1, just keep on writing, don't think about anything, no spelling, nothing, just write down whatever you know, don't judge yourself. Second is the brainstorming. You keep writing the points which you want to cover, then limit your points based on what is the scope of your article or the writing. Then the mind mapping, where you write your problem in the center, and then what are the things you want to talk about, you put that in the form of arrows outside. Then the field force analysis, where you want to see what are the pros and the cons of a particular problem or the particular situation. Then you put them in the form of a force field analysis diagram, and then you start writing about that. Then comes the fishbone analysis, where you want to talk about the cause and you want effect and the cause, and where you want to talk about the factors, and you write those factors in the form of a sub bones, the fishbone diagram. And then once you develop these structures, once you think through these techniques, these 5 techniques, at least now you have something that gives you the direction in which you want to take your writing. Now you have all the things with you. You know your readers, number 1, you know your content, you know your topic well, you know how to think about that topic, and you know what is the scope of your writing. And basically what you have done a lot of thinking before starting to write your draft. And all this thinking process, make sure that this is not the wastage of time. This is actually preparing you to develop the content. Because most of the time, most of the people, when we teach them or when we see that they share their draft or send the draft to the magazine or even to the magazine journals or the medical journals or the life sciences journals, they don't even read. They just throw the words on paper and then they submit their articles, because they have never thought about for whom they are writing, why they are writing, what the topic is conveying, whether the topic is useful or not. You know, COVID-19 is good, but you can't write everything about COVID-19. In COVID-19, what do you want to say? To whom you want to say? What is the important point you want to make? Maybe you're writing for just 100 people, but those 100 people, you should know that these are the people who are going to get benefit from my writing. So if you keep these 5 points, let's just overview that. First is write for your readers, learn about them. Then comes apply the reader's checklist. That is number 2. Then comes overcome the writer's block and develop your content checklist, because that checklist is going to make you confident that what you're going to write about. Then develop the content checklist and develop the questions for them. Then define your topic, what, who, when, where, how, narrow it down. And once you're done with all these thinking, then you put your thoughts about that particular topic through using these 5 techniques. You can put your content in a more structured or getting the overview or the outline of your writing using these 5 techniques based on what kind of an article you are preparing. And once you have done this, the best written content in the world will still fail if the thinking behind them is poor and sloppy. So what does it mean? That if you don't think first, there is no point of writing, because writing again is a form of a thinking. The more you first think structurally, systematically, the more your words will become stronger, effective, clear to the reader. And experiment these techniques. You think upon your topic, select your topic, take a small assignment. Don't take the bigger one. Just write a 300 words article. Take the topic, narrow down the topic, make a small diagram, maybe field force analysis or maybe mind map, whatever it is. Just write 300 words using these techniques. And you will see that your ideas will become more sharper and you will seldom face any kind of a terror of the blank screen. And once you will leave that terror, you will definitely come up with the better ideas, and more ideas will come on paper. The more confident you become as a writer, and you will naturally become better and better writer, because it's not about the English, it's not about the grammar, it's not about how much vocabulary you know. It's more about how beautifully you think about the subject, which makes you an effective writer. With this, I would like to conclude this session. I hope you all enjoyed, and any kind of questions you can send it to us. And thanks for being with us. Thank you. See you in the next session. Thank you so much.